and then moving on to Broken Sword 2, The Smoking Mirror. That was released in 97, right? So 1 year after Broken Sword 1. So short space of time.
Yes, we put a lot of work in a very short space of time.
Yeah.
Obviously, it wasn't such a big game, so we did save some time in that respect. And it was a little bit more linear in the sense that, in Broken Sword 1, we had the Paris hub, which you kept going back to. We didn't have that in Broken Sword 2. But it was, sort of much more of a kind of push forward from the beginning, sort of. And I think in some respects that worked quite well, and I know that there are people who actually prefer Broken Sword 2 to Broken Sword 1. Not the majority, but there are people. And certainly when we released the game on PlayStation, it was a lot more popular on PlayStation. And in fact got voted quite highly in a poll of PlayStation games, sort of like read a poll. And they had to vote for their favourite game, and it came 5th. So that was pretty impressive considering it was up against a lot of pretty groundbreaking games at the time.
Yeah. And then what was your job then? Was it similar to Broken Sword 1 in the sense?
Yes, I mean I was producer again, although I did work with Dave Cummins, the writer, to start on some of the story and design before we finished Broken Sword 1. So it wasn't as though, sort of like we created the whole game from scratch in a year. We did have some design and story and stuff like this ready, sort of like when we finished Broken Sword 1. So that was quite an advantage of being able to move forward with that. But yeah, it was almost exactly a year later that we released number 2. And I remember, the top guy at Virgin, whose name I've forgotten, actually, sort of, gave me a big handshake and congratulated me for getting the game out on time, which, didn't quite sit comfortably with me because, sort of, it was everybody involved doing their part to make that happen. But at the same time, it's nice that they recognise that we got the job done.
And with Broken Sword 2, were there improvements with the graphics or anything like that? Or, I don't know if I can think off the top of my head. It's very similar, I don't know if the graphics were better.
Well, they were drawn in a similar way, sort of like, the line drawings on paper, which were then coloured in Photoshop. Personally, I don't think the quality of the colouring was quite as good overall as the first one. Like some of the beach scenes in the, sort of like Ketch's Island and stuff, all came across as a bit too yellow for me, but that's just my personal view rather than anything. The actual drawings were excellent, but then there were some scenes that were just brilliantly coloured, like the marketplace in Quarramonte. I mean, that was brilliant. I love the colouring of that one.
Yeah.
But because we were aiming to get the game done in a year, we fundamentally used the same engine, same animation system. I think there were some tweaks to George's animation set, but nothing major. Although he did have the additional animation set of walking around in his shorts.
I'm just going to say, I think it's he had the exact same clothes at the beginning and I think at the end, but basically for most of the game he was in shorts and a yellow t-shirt, I think, if I remember correctly.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, although it was effectively the same animation set, at the beginning of the game as the first one, we actually recolored the jacket and his trousers slightly to make a difference. But that was just like a palette change rather than having to go through and recolor everything.
Yeah.
That's the advantage of working with like 256 color palettes. You could just take one of the palette colors and change its hue, and suddenly that affected the whole of the animation set. So things like that were quite easy. But of course, so we put the effort into creating the new set with the shorts on, which gave more variety and so on. And of course, the only, I suppose, technical change was the fact that you went to a different section and played as Nico.
Yeah, of course. In the first game, you couldn't do that. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was the only real change of any substance, I think. And some of the sections were fun. I mean, sort of like going down into the secret underground station and seeing the
that
ghost.
was very funny because if you veer off to in one direction, it goes back to Beneath the Steel Sky, doesn't it? You meet
only if you give the chocolate to the ghost do you trigger that.
Right, okay. Yeah,
it's kind of like sort of what they call an Easter egg, But yeah, you had to do that. And of course, you got the talking goat. Well,
yeah, absolutely hilarious.
That was done. Yeah. That was done by Rolf, putting on his grief, James Stewart voice.
Yeah, I've got a funny story about that because I'm still actually doing it now. So basically, I speak Spanish. So I every night. This may sound a bit strange, but I kind of use Broken Swords, Broken Sword 1, Broken Sword 2 in Spanish. So I go to bed, listen to it in Spanish, and then just fall asleep. And if you listen to the it's really good because I know the storylines inside out. It really helps to build up my vocabulary and to remember things. But if you listen to the goat in Spanish, it's 1,000 times funnier. It's hilarious. Yeah.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah, I have to send you the link from YouTube. It's
I don't speak Spanish,
phenomenal. Yeah.
But I think that sort of sometimes you get that something translate more in a funnier way, or the actor delivers a funnier sort of performance or what have you. Sort of it's a very funny thing. I mean, I was once involved in a project that had been written in Spanish and translated into English, and it was a funny game, and it had lost all the humour as it had been translated. So they got me to kind of rewrite it with humour, and I actually got a version of the game in Spanish to play, even though I don't speak Spanish, just to get the tone of the voices, sort of, so I knew what tone each line was being said in, and get the gist of it, purely from how they were recorded, which was a real benefit.
That's very clever. Yeah. So even though you just listening to the intonation and the way the language sounds, helped you then to
and it's sort of
idea.
You get the sense of that actor's voice in your head, even though it's not my native language. I just get it was just such a help. So anyway, back to Broken Sword. So
Yeah, like with the broken sword as well. I was thinking, like with the puzzles and stuff. Did you get involved in that in Broken Sword too?
A little bit,
Yeah, a little
sort
bit.
of. I was in design meetings and story meetings, um, and certainly, kind of made suggestions and stuff like this. But really, I mean, a lot of it was Charles, a lot of it was Dave. Um, sort of. But I think that, sort of. I mean, the beauty of working alongside Charles is that you come up with an idea, and Charles would refine it, help refine it. He was very good at refining ideas, for puzzles. Um, and it was that in itself was an education. Um, sort of sometimes sometimes we get a bit frustrated with each other, shall we say? But most of the time it was just a real pleasure working with him, and the others, of course. But I mean, I wouldn't be where I am today without Charles giving me the job in the first place. So I'm always very appreciative of sort of what he's done for me over the years.
Yeah.
So yeah, but yeah, Broken Sword Sir was I think a good game. And although sort of quite a lot of people think it doesn't compare to the first one, story times and the overall gameplay and stuff. I think the fact that we had a much shorter time to complete it, sort of. I think we did very well within that time.
Yeah, I agree with just to consider that it was only 1 year between the two games. I think
Mm.
it was a very good game. Yeah, like for me, I think the first one was better, but you had a lot more time as well, and
Mm.
maybe it's just like a nostalgia thing as well as the first one. So
Yes.
maybe you're always going to get people who will say, you know, that you're never going to get. It's never going to be as good as the first one, just based on you
Yeah,
always
that's
find that.
that's always a problem when you've got something that's successful and to a certain extent groundbreaking. The next one will never be groundbreaking, will it? All it will never be the first. So it's always there's always going to be an element of suffering. Sort of it's difficult to make something better when it's fundamentally the same.
Yeah.
which it was. I mean, same characters, George and Nico. Sort of like the investigation was, went along similar lines. The writing and the humor and everything was similar. So it wasn't it wasn't that we set out to make a weaker game or anything. It's that we had a very tight deadline to meet. We did as best we could
Yeah.
within that
Yeah.
frame. And
But I think as well, playing Nico, I think that that was something that you couldn't do on the first game. So it was different as well. I guess that some fans may comment on that they like the fact that you could play both characters. Maybe the ones who do prefer Broken Sword 2.
yes, I think that sort of in the first game, Nico was an important character, but she effectively just appeared to sit in her apartment waiting for George to come back with news, didn't she?
Yeah, right. Yeah,
And
she's
then she
always
go,
writing things. Yeah.
and then she'd say something like, sort of, oh, I have a friend called Andre Lobino who works at such and such a museum. Go and see him. Sort of.
Mm.
Whereas, sort of,
Yeah.
looking back, we might have made that a Nico gameplay section. Well, I've got a friend who knows about this stuff. I'll go and see him. And then you would have a section in the museum played by where you played Nico. But we didn't think of that at the time. Sort of it was just it was George's investigation, and Nico was just kind of a useful sounding board and had some useful tips and stuff like this.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we can always do better in hindsight, can't we?
Of course.
Yes. I mean, I think the fact that we used Nico sensibly in Broken Sword 2 meant that sort of we could separate the two characters and have them doing very different things to each other, and then come back together again to shoot off across the other side of the world, kind of thing. And that was very important. Sort of so Nico's in London investigating the London Museum.
I was just going to say, Nico had the rain and George was in the Caribbean soaking up the sun. So not really.
And then
a bit disappointed with that, I suppose Nico was.
Yeah, and then she nearly got killed down by the docks. And
yeah.
so yeah, sort of. She didn't have it easy.
No, did things the hard way. But no. What was the highlight for you then of that game, Steve?
I think the fact that sort of as a team we did get it out on time, sort of and sort of we just produced a solid game within a year. So sort of it was good, but also sort of, I mean, we had that excellent part in sort of the docks in Marseille where where you got to get past the dog on
the grumpy old man, is it?
The dog on the gate. And you got the guy in the hut as well.
In the hut, yeah.
But there's that puzzle of getting the dog into the water. It's again dumping the dog in the water again.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Sort of that was such a long convoluted puzzle. Sort of.
I remember that in '97. I remember that my brother and I we couldn't solve that part, and I don't know if you remember back in the day they'd have like these hotline numbers or whatever that you'd pay crazy amounts of money. Yeah, I remember we had to phone up like this number to get help because we just could not solve that puzzle with the dog. We were stuck on that for months. Yeah,
because you had to kind of get the boat hook out of the water, then you had to get the bottle by using the boat hook on it, and then you had to kind of like cool the chimney down in order to get the top off the chimney, and then drop the bottle into the chimney and smoke the guy out, which allowed you to get underneath and into the hut and grab the dog biscuit.
Get the dog biscuits, yeah.
So it was quite convoluted. I like that sort of puzzle, sort of, that really appeals to me. So that was good and quite a satisfying conclusion again with dumping an angry dog into the water. But yeah, it was I think it was a good game.
Yeah, I remember Broken Sword 2 kind of more vividly than the first one, and I remember people used to write into the PlayStation magazines, and then you'd have to buy the next magazine, the following month. You'd write in and ask them to help you with, if you were stuck in Marseille or whatever, and then you'd buy the next issue, and then you'd go into the local spa and like, right, okay, I'm going to buy this now, and then go to like page 19, and then they would be your answer. I remember that. Yeah, lots of people would write in about Broken Sword 2.
Yeah, not as many as the goat puzzle, probably. I actually saw a copy of the official PlayStation magazine, and somebody had written in about the goat puzzle something like 8 or 10 years after the game came out. So there was still playing it, all that time later.
Wow. Yes, that would be.
And still getting stuck on the goat.
Yeah, I think most people got stuck on that. It was I found that very hard at the time.
Yeah. But I think the readers of the PlayStation magazine particularly like Broken Sword 2. I think a lot more than probably the PC players did. I don't know if it was something particular about the pacing of it or what. But, a lot of PlayStation readers really liked it.
Yeah, like for me, I would say the highlight for Broken Sword 2, is when you visit the priest, in the treehouse, and then he says about. I'm just trying to think because I listen to it in Spanish all the time, so I'm just trying to like translate from. It's the. Is it like the night of the dance, like the monkey dance or something like that? When he basically he must have got like drunk or whatever, and he fathers like 9 children, and that he's kind of like shy to go back to the village.
Yeah.
That was really funny, that part. Yeah. Hilarious.
We had interesting. It's like when he goes to the shaman and we have that kind of dreamlike sequence with the animated in the sky kind of thing.
Yeah. He talks about the stones,
that was
isn't it?
Yeah, that was interesting to do. Trying to keep to the style of sort of the ancient Mayans.
The Mayans or the Incas, is it? Or
Mayans, yes.
No, the Mayans, yeah. It's Tezcatlipoca and sort of that type of history. Yeah, really interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, it was fascinating actually reading about those things, and sort of trying to match the visual style, so like when we were doing the interiors of the pyramid, and sort of like there were these symbols in that puzzle, and we were actually using sort of like ancient carvings as reference. Because they use a lot of turquoise and gold and stuff like this, don't they? So that was fascinating.
Just one other thing that's come to mind as well, Steve, is at the end of the game where you have to like move those discs. I still really to this day don't really know what I was doing with that. So like, yeah, I think I must have like phoned the hotline or something again, because I've watched it since on YouTube, but I still don't really know what's going on.
The idea was that, kind of on the very left-hand side, you had lots of different parts of symbols. So you press in 3 different parts. So you had a kind of like a top part, a body, and a foot part. And if you got the right combination, that would let you press in the next symbol.
Those slabs.
And it's sort of like built across from there, you see.
Right.
So it was quite complex, but it did make sense. Sort of like each part was built up of parts from the previous bit, if you know what I mean. So it did, sort of. It wasn't a simple puzzle, but it did make logical sense.
Right.
Yes. Took a bit of design in that one, from what I understand, and certainly the graphics had to be just right. So.
Yeah, because there's 2 discs, and then you have to like press in. There's like stone slabs, then, isn't it? Sort of like to the So you have to get the combination right. So yeah, I didn't manage to at the time back in '97. I didn't know what I was doing with that one, so I had to to call the that telephone number. I think Charles was talking about that on an interview before, saying that like he said, I want to clarify that we had nothing to do with those hotlines, because they would charge extortionate prices, like £3 a minute or £5 a minute. So he just wanted to kind of highlight that to the listeners, that Revolution were
It was
totally independent of those premium numbers to call.
I think it was a publisher, created thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, they must have made a fortune.
Yeah,
Yeah.
these days you kind of often put hint systems in the games themselves, or you can go to the developer's website and there might be a sort of hint page or something like that.
Yeah, I remember
think-
with I don't know if it was Broken Sword 1 or 2, but with some games back in like the 90s, early 2000s, you could, you'd have the manual, you'd have the book, and then sometimes the hints would be inside there. Did you do that with Broken Sword 1 and 2 then, or was it?
No, I don't remember doing that.
Right.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
We made players suffer. Actually, I got into a little bit of an argument with one of the guys I was working with. I mean, nothing fierce, but in a sort of he was designing this puzzle. He was fairly new to the company. I think this was when we were working on Broken Sword 3, and he just said, "Oh, this puzzle will stump the player," and I said, "No, that's not what it's about. It's not about stumping the player. It's about making it hard, making it a challenge, but making it logical so that we can get there in the end. It's not us versus them. We're out to create entertainment. So they should be able to kind of work through it logically. They might not get it at first, and they might kick themselves when they do get it. But it's not to stump them."
Yeah. I see your point.
And that's it. I mean, in the perfect world, it's you think of it in terms of the designer is working with the player to get an entertaining experience out of it, if you like. You don't want the player to feel as though they've completely failed. I mean, this is the problem with the goat puzzle, or even the sort of the symbols puzzle at the end of Broken Sword 2, is that if you get too frustrated and you give in, then the player might not complete the game. Feel as though it's not been as satisfying as it should be. So you want them to succeed. You just want to give them a challenge.
Yeah.
So it's walking a fine line in many respects, but sort of only experience will sort of lead you down to creating it in the right way. I mean, it's easy to make puzzles too simple, and it's easy to make them impossible. But to get the right balance is quite difficult.
Yeah. So at the end of when you released Broken Sword 2, was 3D already starting to come in at that point? Was it starting to move away from 2D?
I mean, 3D was already in existence, probably before Broken Sword. I think it was it 94 when Doom came out, 94, 95. So sort of we had that basic 3D then, and we had. I mean, Doom was brilliant, and I liked Doom 2, but that was just a bit too hard for my liking. But then, using a similar engine to Doom became Dark Forces, which was a Star Wars game, and I loved that. That was just brilliant because it kind of had some puzzling elements in it, and it also had a story, and yet it was very similar to Doom in many respects. But it just felt really good as Star Wars. So there were things coming along certainly before the release of of Broken Sword 2. So when we finished Broken Sword 2, we sort of there were kind of signs on the horizon that we had to kind of approach a Broken Sword 3 with you know, with a very different ideas in mind. Maybe put a little bit of action in there. And I know Sony wanted us to give George a gun, which we really hated. So yeah. So we started out with this idea that you know, oh well, George would have a gun, we'd make it like this, and suddenly we realised that we didn't have a Broken Sword game, and it morphed into In Cold Blood,
right?
Which was an immense game, and I loved it. So, but yeah, it didn't. We didn't really know where we were going actually after Broken Sword 2, and there was a lot of publisher discussions between, you know, Charles and the other directors and the publisher. Sony in particular wanted to take control of the publishing.
Thousands of years trying to chase something that's staring us in the face. When life is lost on its face and you're feeling flat, you must remember that happiness is an inside job. If your name is Mary, if your name is Bob, you sing or sob. Remember, happiness is an inside job. A lot of people travel in search of the sun, flying and fishing, looking for fun. But it isn't easy leaving cares behind. And pretty soon you find happiness is an inside job. If your name is Mary, if your name is Bob.
I glanced over the books, vaguely hoping to find a copy of How to Deal with Poisonous Spiders While Tied to a Chair. Tell me what you make of this note.
From my years of experience, I gained a pretty good insight into handwriting. I'd say that note was written by a compulsive, obsessive type with an Oedipus complex.
Hey, you got just about everything apart from the ponytail. Would you give me your opinion on this pot, sir?
Yes, very rapuche.
Rapuche?
Hideous.
What the hell do you think you're doing? You smashed my pot.
Certainly, it was not only worthless, it was ugly and offensive.
To you, maybe.
Believe me, I was doing you a favor.
What's the difference between my pot and all those other pots?
Yours is broken.
Why, you smug, pompous sloth. Allow me. I have these very exotic panties.
Take them away, you pervert!
Excuse me?
Huh? Who's there?
Hey, 20. Come and get it, boy.
I felt a slight twinge of conscience as I prepared to give the dog a dunking. It soon passed.
Pizza delivery?
I didn't order pizza.
No? This is the Condor Transglobal Shipping Company, isn't it?
I don't like pizza.
Oh, come on. Everyone likes pizza. Hey,
What now?
look. This pizza's been paid for. You might as well take it.
I told you, I don't like pizza.
Not even with extra olives?
I hate them. Olives are the devil's butt nuggets.
If you know what's good for you, you'll open this door.
What if I don't?
I'll kick your head in.
Okay, I'll come out, you creep.
Now, I like most animals, but experience had made me wary of goat and cats and dogs. What was that? It's a lump of lucky coal. Coal? I would have preferred chocolate. Any flavor, so long as it hasn't got marzipan in it. God, I hate marzipan. You can talk. I mean, you're a talking goat. Keep your voice down. This is between you and me, right? Well, I guess so. Now, I mean it. You tell anyone you've spoken to me, and you'll be cursed.
¿Qué es eso?
Es un trozo de carbón de la suerte.
Carbón. Prefiero el chocolate, de cualquier sabor. Siempre que no tenga mazapán. ¿Cómo odio el mazapán?
No puedes hablar. Quiero decir, eres una cabra parlante.
Baja la voz. Esto es entre tú y yo, ¿vale?
Supongo.
Te lo digo en serio. Cuéntale a alguien que has hablado conmigo y te caerá una maldición.
You see this? It's my lucky piece of coal.
What's so lucky about it?
I'm not sure yet.
Nice buns.
What do you think of these panties, Dwayne?
Lord, hot stuff, George. You buy those for your girl?
No, a guy we know in Paris bought them for her.
Oh, you're a threesome then. Why are you looking at me like that, George?
Forget it.
But what is this? An angel come down to earth.
Nicole Collard. Enchanté, mon général.
Pardon me, senorita, but I couldn't help myself.
You came on a little strong with the general.
I was merely flattering his ego, Georges. Every man has his Achilles heel.
Maybe, but that guy's weakness isn't in his foot.
I've changed my mind.
Oh, no, you haven't. She's embarrassed about asking you for an interview, General.
An interview? With me? Fabuloso!
Well, I want to write a story about you.
You hear that, Ronaldo? An exclusive glossy spread about your beloved general.
Si, Signor General.
look after things here. I'm going back to my apartment and I don't want to be disturbed.
I'll get you for this, George Stobart.
So, here we are.
You've changed.
I thought I would slip into something more comfortable.
The stench of cheap cologne rolled over me like tear gas.
So, what do you want to know about me? Ask and I will answer. I will deny you nothing. I am a very giving person.
How nice for your friends.
Your eyes are glittering like stars.
It was a portrait of some thug in a uniform. A tiger skin lay on the floor. Who's the guy with the hat and the fat cigar?
My mother.
Love your TV.
Oh, yeah. Cool, no?
Mom, what is going on here?
Nothing, Mom. I was...
I'm in uniform. And when I'm in uniform, things...
Madame the President, sorry, Madame the President.
Hey, Dwayne, I want you to tie this rope to your truck and then drive forward. I'd had no idea whether this was really going to work, but I'd seen it in a black and white western. Of course, Hopalong was using a horse and Dwayne had a 4-ton truck, but hey, the principle's sound.
Anything you say, George.
Please forgive my mother. She can be a little difficult.
Oh, my feet. Raoul, propose, you idiot.
Don't mind her. She just wants grandchildren.
Don't think I can't hear you, Raoul. I want the worthy successor, and you're not it. Propose now, or I'll do it for you.
Look, Nico, we haven't known each other very long, but...
What the hell was that?
I didn't know what was going on, but Georges had to be involved in it somehow. Georges, what have you done? You only had to sneak a look at the chart, and it's turned into World War III.
No time to explain. Come on.
Don't move, terrorist scum. You talking to me, Junior? Yes, I'm talking to you, fat man. And my name's not Junior.
A word to the wise, Junior. You carry on waving that pea shooter in my face, and the next person who sees it is gonna be your proctologist. Savvy?
General, I am happy to report that I have apprehended the terrorist. You idiot! Not them! The other American and the French woman! They're the ones!
Here's your collar, Father.
Thank you, George. You probably think it a little odd of me to make such a fuss.
Oh, no. If I've been living in the jungle for 11 years, I'd be completely screwy, too.
Screwy? Yes, perhaps I am. Ever since my last visit to that village.
Do you want to tell me what happened at the village?
I forgot my vows. I let myself be overwhelmed by the beauty of this unspoiled paradise. And in a moment of weakness, animals passion rears their head.
You know, you should be writing romantic novels. Did you experience some kind of a physical liaison at the village?
Yes, I'm ashamed to admit it, but I found myself doing the monkey dance.
Are you going to stand by and let my girlfriend die?
Of course not. What do you think we are, savages?
We'll start the preparations for a cremation feast.
Why is Father Hubert so reluctant to visit the village?
I don't know. He used to come here a lot, but then he just stopped. You'd think he'd want to spend some time with his kids.
Did you say Father Hubert has kids?
3 girls and 5 boys by my reckoning. All conceived in the same week at the Feast of the Monkey Dance.
Can you tell me anything about Captain Ketch?
More than you can tell me about your great-great-great-great-grandfather, no doubt.
You're his descendants?
Certainly. Captain Ketch was born in Dorset, England, in the reign of King Henry VIII. His family were undistinguished farmers, but young Frederick Ketch decided to go to sea.
We have plenty of seamen in our family, Mr. Stobart.
Is this worm worth a fish?
Could be good bait. How did it die?
I think it drowned in tequila.
Just like my Uncle Gabriel. Yeah, I'll have that.
Disentangle yourself from our flagpole and eject yourself from our property this very minute.
Disentangle! Eject!
Hey, cut that out, you crazy old bat!
How dare you! Mina isn't crazy, she's engagingly eccentric. Can you answer me some questions about the Jaguar Stone?
Certainly, miss. If you just step this way. It's gone. Some sods half-inched it.
Half-inched?
Stolen it, miss.
Surprise!
This place must have been closed down decades ago. LBS Lubes? What are lubes? The ghost obviously didn't want to talk. Perhaps it was shy. Who the hell are you?
Joey, is that you?
Oh, I remember you now. Hey, listen, don't go near that hole.
Nobody tells Robert Foster what to do, lady.
You don't understand. I've played this game before. There's something horrible in that hole. Some beast with tentacles.
You're nuts.
They don't make animations like that anymore.
The path was blocked by an ugly and extremely dangerous-looking boar.
But the collar woman was there. They'll know it was me.
But you have the stone. The right stone, you're sure?
Yes, of course, it's the Jaguar Stone. No possible mistake. Here it is. Garzak, please. The police will be looking for me soon. You're going to get me out of the country, aren't you?
Stop your whining, Ouvier. Do you have any idea what this stone symbolizes?
I thought you just wanted it to frighten the natives.
Fool. I intend to cast this stone into the sea.
But why? It's unique.
Exactly. With it gone, the Mayan priest's plan to destroy Tezcatlipoca cannot succeed.
I can assure you that Tezcatlipoca is a mythical figure.
Such a small mind you live in. Tezcatlipoca is real. I have seen him in my dreams. We have spoken of his plans for this world. We have spoken of your part in his plans.
My part?
He told me you would be useful. He told me how to crush your spirit by turning you to drugs.
My wife died. You know that full well. She was my world, my everything.
And now, you are no longer useful. She called out your name as she died, you know.
What? What are you saying?
And then they thought you'd done it. It all worked perfectly.
You? It was you? You bastard! You monster! For the love of God, Karzak!
Which one?
We were going to need the stone to thwart Karzak. I knew Oublier would have approved. It was the Jaguar stone, all right.
Those hornets were not pleased.
Get that camera rolling. This could be good.
Where are they? The eclipse is about to happen.
Patience. Your mother will be here soon and Karzak will be close behind. Just keep the Yankee covered and leave the worrying to others.
Yeah, Raoul.
The maniacs were going to sacrifice Georges.
Shut up, Stobart. Just shut up.
Calm down. He's no threat.
Hey, Raoul, why don't you do us both a favor and shoot Pablo?
You're very funny, Stobart. I haven't forgotten Marseille.
What's that? What's happening?
Trouble.
Give it up. The pyramid's surrounded.
I'll find out what the trouble is. Watch Stobart doesn't pull any tricks. If he does, shoot him in the head, not through the heart.
Why does it matter? He'll be dead either way.
His heart belongs to Tezcatlipoca.
That's not true. We just had dinner a couple of times.
No, there's something suspicious. This sacrifice! Where is it?
Nico was here with Titipoco. They set him free. I couldn't stop them.
You idiot! I should have strangled you at birth. Titipoco's gone soft. He wouldn't have hurt you.
I know that.
The darkness of this hun is almost upon us, and we have no sacrifice to appease Tezcatlipoca. Have you any idea what your incompetence will cost us?
I think so. And I'm glad.
What?
The Mayans weren't fools. Tezcatlipoca should stay exactly where they put him.
Finally got some backbone from somewhere, huh? Shame it's so late in the day.
I'd rather die than see you and Karzak with that devil's power.
The room was dominated by an enormous device. Decorated with the usual Mayan motifs, it held two great discs, each covered in glyphs. There were several tiles with glyphs on them. There was a statue of a monkey, some sort of religious significance. George once told me that there's an act to finding secret doors. I think I'm beginning to get the hang of it.
This was it. The pyramid's central chamber. Its dark heart. Once before in my life, I'd stood in front of a door and thought, this is it. If I go through there, I'm going to die. I'd been wrong then. And I hoped I was wrong now. This was the door that led to the central chamber. And the smoking mirror.